allow for a rapid opening of the aurora platforms to each other, because with progressive activation of the Rasha bodies and the Aquafarian shield, these aurora platforms that are now kind of like self-contained reality fields open up together and they form that new Earth ascension field. And it literally is a three-dimensional holographic planet just like this, except it's a healed one that is running a Krystic pattern. It has part of its coronasphere on that kind of thing. That is the slide zone. That is where we will learn to slide to. Before we can span, which is go all the way up to Earth's surface, we would have to be able to sustain biologically there. So it's like a transition zone that will assist us, whatever ascension path we're on. So that is formed by three what are called the aquiline sun activations. One would merge this and this. The other next would merge this and this. And the next would merge this and this. They've been activated early on because, through these, by activating these from the Adore side, because of several things. The things that happened in Peru, which was the beginning of the hibernation zone, people were activating the caduceus network, which would have attempted to take out the spanner gates. And so we wouldn't have been able, we would have lost the host completely. So we are in the process of, these have already merged at this point. We have 1 and 2, 2 and 3, and have merged. 3 and 4 are in the process of merging. So that's the last field of the new Earth that is still in process of being born with the Rasha body activations. These have specific locations they connect to on Earth. This one is called Shalon 7. It's the house that they asked us to get in the Phoenix Scottsdale area. And it connects directly to Spanner 7. All right, this one is in Machu Picchu. And that's why we did the Peru trip, to go and open a set of networks that run this one. Then this one is called Kalon 7, Virginia Beach. That's what we're going to be assisting in doing things with when we go in September to Virginia Beach. And this one is Alon 7, which is the other house that they had us get. I mean, I would have been happy with one little house, and I didn't really care where, but we had to get a house up here in the property. It's the property that's it's not the house that's the important thing in Colorado. And this one is called the Danue Sheva. These are called the Winterlands because it's like a version of Colorado, which is really strange. When you go there, beautiful white-capped snowy mountains, but beautiful blue sky, and it's really gorgeous. There's lots of other things to it, and there's inside of the mountains, there's all sorts of the subterranean biomes, because this connects over into, this Winterlands, the Winterland platform, connects over into the Eartha Mantle and the Adashi temples. So there's these maps of places here that connect to these places that are all part of the maps. And we're progressively opening the gate systems with them. For a long time, all that we were working with was the Spanner 7 gate for various reasons that the other ones weren't going to activate. But it got so bad here, and the alignment got so bad that we knew it was going to fall, and they were going to have to activate all of the Spanner gates. And they began that, I believe, in the last Tribes workshop. We did 12-12 activation, which means the 12 Adashi temples on what's called the 12th floor. Each of the Adashi temples, there's 12 of them, each of them correspond with a spanner gate that reaches, and each of them have 15 floors. You could look at them as floors. The 15 floors correspond to the 15 Jaleesic layer structure, okay, or the 15 rings and the 15 spans. And when we do projections, we're guided to go to certain floors, like Adashi temple number this, floor that. We've always been using Adashi 7 temple. And each of the tribes classes before the acceleration that we had to do were going to, class 4 or class 3 would go to take the ring 3 journey, Adashi 7 temple, ring 3. Well, the first, it was the last 12 stars, wasn't it, the 12-12? This is the first time they let us know that a certain activation had to be done. They had to activate all of the temples because the Caduceus network had activated the central Ankh thing that was going to put us into pole shift really fast. And they had to activate it to stop pole shift here. And we went up into Adashi 7 and then had to cross through the Akusha side, which would be at the Adore side, and then have them take us back over to the 12 lineup, which was the 12 spanner. And we ended up running the projection from the Adashi 12 temple, 12th floor. So this is they just did a huge leap. We were on Adashi 7 temple, with the only one activated, on floor 5. And we leaped from there all the way over to the 12 set. So they're doing the full activation of all of them. What that full activation looks like is this. I'm just about done, I think. Getting close. Yeah, I have to put these two on together. line them up. Hopefully. Yeah, there's a little red thingy somewhere. Yeah. Okay, yeah. Okay, let me find them. This is flipped over then, too. Wait a minute. Get my... It's funny, I can't see the registration marks when they're on the black part. There we go. It's close, anyway. This is how a single spanner gate, this was like the spanner 7 gate, because spanner 7 is the one that runs down through Phoenix and through our house, actually. This is how the gate structures work, and there are 12 different ones of these. But I'll talk more about these tonight, because I'll also show you where the caduceus ones that connect to the hibernation zones, where they connect into this structure. But this would be one fire line, right, or fire chamber in the Rasha and light body structure. Up here, you would have Earth's surface. All right, these would be the different layers. Each of the hearts correspond to one of the different layers in the map. Let's see, we have the Akusha 3 platform, the Aurora 4 platform, the Akusha 4 platform. So the hearts connect to, they're like links into those platforms. And the hearts are actually the tops of tubes. They're kind of shaped like hearts. The tubes come down here. This is the central skinny chamber. Then there's these larger chambers. Each one has a chamber going up like strands of spaghetti getting fatter around each other. Hollow spaghetti, like little noodles. I know, that's what I see it as noodles, right? Like they're sheaths. They're the tunnels. These have to do with the Christ star tunnels. They have to do with the activation of the Eye of God currents coming out that literally come out around. When you're fully activated, they come out around your body as the staff currents. The staff becomes your ascension chamber, like an elevator. So these are like the elevator chambers. They go down into the subterranean layers of Earth, and they connect to SG13, to planetary 13, Stargate 13, and that is the core gate here, and it is connected to Earth's 13, and 13 is the one that didn't get compromised. They tried to go after it to close it so the host couldn't run, but it's fortified. At a certain point, we got back the entire set of them and turned them back around, but then they did the caduceus activation. So I don't know what state the 14 and 15 gates are in, but 13 is holding, and as long as that holds, the host can hold as far as running the frequencies, the kryst frequencies. Each of these layers in this mural that they had me do on the wall, the mural is a code that even without seeing the key to the mural, it means the same thing. And people can look at that, and if there's anything Christic in them, it'll start the gentle activations for them on whatever their own natural base pulse rhythm would be. And there's going to be art like this. We're in the process of 2 more murals. Like, I needed this right now. No. We just got done with getting the second house, getting it fixed up and renovated to Guardian specs, because they had us get the properties, and then they told us this has to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. It's like, okay, we'll get it done. Now we have 2 more murals in progress, one in the Colorado house, which is Elon 7, and another one in the Shalon house that has to do with the chambers that have recently opened and that are opening during this, during tonight. So I just wanted to see how these things fit together. When a spanner gate fully activates, there's this activation of what is called, first of all, there is a window. It's funny, in Peru with the Incas, you'll see the shape as windows in some of their old structures. And it is indeed a window that forms. It's called the Lehi de Luna, which means the way of safe passage through Luna. They connect into a set of passages that are connected into the moon. Even though the moon is not a natural moon for this system, that was artificially created a long time ago with parts of the Beast machine, it still interfaces through. Because where the fallen angelics have come in here and put in negative grid stuff to do nasty stuff, the guardian groups would come in and they would put in things to counteract that, or at least ways out through it so you wouldn't get hurt. And that's what hosts were about. So there's the first passage that these have opened already, the Lehi de Lunas. There's one for each of the 12 gates, and then there's a really big one. And I believe, where did we do the really big one? Was that might have been through the 12-12 journey, last 12 tribes class. Yeah. So there's a set of 12 of these, one for each of the 12 spanner gates. But then when they all activate, it was the last one, this huge one opens around the whole Earth. And it's literally a gate, and that was open in the last 12 tribes. And next we're going to, there's another set of these. Every spanner has another one on top, where this bottom part, right, this fat part, you would see another fat part here, which would be the bottom of the next one up, that is the one that connects Eartha to Sirius B. All right, so they've begun activation of these between Sirius B and Eartha, and we've begun activation of these between Earth and Eartha and Sirius B. So they're opening up the connections to the edonic level, which is the middle domain of density 2 Sirius B, which is considered the Salasira sun. It's a particular chamber, and there's healing frequencies that can be brought in very rapidly through that. But it's also what's needed to stabilize and to basically keep control of the nets to stop pole shift. Because when they activated the caduceus network that we'll talk about later tonight, what it did was begin to make those nets that are running in the field that have been static and holding us and the hibernation zones in place. They start to roll in and of themselves, and once they hit a certain level of roll this way, then they start to spin, and they were designed to take the rest of this light field and drag it in to that. If that happens, we would have 3-day pole shift, literally. It would just be gone. I mean, everything. You know, if you can imagine the pole shift in 3 days scene, where all of a sudden the Earth starts to rebel. It will look like that, where all of a sudden the Earth decides it doesn't want humans on it anymore, because when it goes, climate goes, everything goes. So that was not going to be allowed here if the beloveds could help it. And they went through a series of things we'll talk about tonight that has to do with the 7th of July, the 777, and what was taking place during that period. And then the 71707 as well, and that was all connected into it. So we'll talk about those things more tonight. What's important at this point is just to realize that when you do the journey, we will be using these gate systems. You'll be using the vertical maps. In these maps, the pink clouds correspond to the Aurora 2 platform. The turquoisey blue clouds correspond to the Aurora 3 platform. Aurora 4 platform is not shown on this yet. That mural is up on the wall in the Elon house in Colorado. It's underway, and it's all mountains, and boy, is that going to be hard to paint. But that would be the top of this mural, right? And what goes up from there, because it goes into the Eartha field. So the Colorado house actually connects to the A4 platform and connects into the higher parts of Eartha and into Adashi more direct, closer, I would say. They're both direct because this is a pretty direct line, but that one is closer in frequency to the ascension Earth than the one down here, just because of the spatial relationships, like between where the places are located in relation to what platforms they plug into. So this one plugs into the A1 platform, which means it plugs into the subterranean ones, as well as the ones that are the immediate cloud cities most quickly. So there's all sorts of different things we're going to learn with these. This I want to show you too, aside from this figure 8 shaped gate, which is the Crystal Heart Gate. They're called the Navajo passages. They were put in seeding 2 by the Navajo races that carried the codes of the elemental command, which is the Navajo cell. All right. These are running on. This was the seeding 3 passages. The seeding 3 passages were our races, where races were seeded onto this planet for seeding 3. During we talked about in the Amente program, seeding 3 started. They were seeded through smaller passages called the Astura passages. They also run the fire chambers, and then they link, and they have a loop. The Astura, or the Azurite A, right, is that without this loop part. But that loop part happens when they activate, and they run this way. The caduceus network was an attempt to take these over. You'll see that in how the diagrams go later. But they activated first the Astura network, and from that the Crystal Heart network can run. So the Asturas actually anchor the Crystal Hearts into the grids. And these were the chambers, the birthing chambers of how life was seeded on this planet in seeding 3. And this was the seeding chambers for seeding 2 were done with this. They didn't say what about seeding 1 yet. But anyway, that explains, I think, as much as you need to know for doing a decent glide. And let's see, what else do I have there? There's only 1 or 2. I just want to show the code. Yeah, that. I'm just going to whip this one by real fast. That, again, is the Crystal Heart code. If you notice at the center of it, there is that Kryst star capsule shape that we saw, and that would have like the Akasha flame shape around it. When we saw our bodies with the Kryst star crystal capsule and the Kryst star activation, that is a Kryst star crystal there. There's another one up here that corresponds to that next set that goes up. So these are the Kryst star elevator gates, is what they are, and their chambers run completely on the Kryst star thing. When you step into them, if you're Kryst star able, it will just simply activate your Kryst star, turn you to light, zip you up there, and they're there. So when they work naturally, if you're not mutated and you can just go in and do Kryst star, they activate the Christ are elevators, and you turn the light, go up, and turn back into matter that's natural for the surface. We're working on that. First, we got to get to the first level of Christ star activation that will take us physically into the slide zones of the ascension Earth. Next one, please. That are the configurations when we have the 12 activated, the 12 spanners and their Astura passages activated in our fields or in the Earth field. The Earth also has this. This is known as the Aquiferian shield. When we talk about the Aquiferian shield, it's all built on the natural Cathara grid structures that run off the fire lines, right? The fire chambers, each of those 12 points would be one of the fire chambers that correspond to the Rasha body, and also the version of that that's in the light body outside of that. And these are literally the energy flows that open up between the core, going down to the core. They open up the core flows into each of the fire chambers, and all sorts of wonderful stuff happens. I'm looking forward to learning about the bigger parts, what these activations do and what they mean, because there's a lot of exciting stuff. We're learning technicals right now just to know they exist and to know how to use them for basic things. But there's amazing amounts of information that pertains to when these activate in your fields, and not to mention in a planet's fields, where you can go up and down through crystic elevators that turn you into light and then pop you back out where you want to be. So anyway, this is the Aquiferian shield. It is actually the template for the Aquiferian shield. That is the template for the natural flows that come from the full spectrum Eye of God configuration. Next one, please. If you look at it without the Cathara grids in it, just so you can see what it looks like, it's quite beautiful. It's got the Astura passages, and it's got the crystal heart passages. And it's going to be really beautiful once we're going to do a color code on it, and there's going to be ways to use it. There's going to be ways to use it with chakra healing, too, that I don't know about yet, but maybe I'll know a little bit more if I ever get back up there to get the diagrams done. Next one, please. This is just showing you in relation to the planet how that Aquiferian shield, and this is the Aquiferian shield I talked about, that the Aquiferian races of indigos, and cloisters, indigos, and angelic humans with Aquari codes are holding this program, this natural program of Earth's Christic pattern on planet, because Earth has lost so much of its own it could not run spanner gates. But while we are on the planet, we can hold that field to allow the Aurora platforms to open into surface Earth. So there is still the chance of things from this Earth getting into the Aurora platforms, so they will be able to stay on an ascension path. And again, the Aurora platforms all merge together to form what looks like a version of this Earth, but a prettier one that's in a Christic state that is not in falling apart. There are cities and things there. It is not an Earth that is like born and pristine that nobody lives on. There's actually, these fields have been lived in for a long time with different levels of the beloveds working with them. Now it's just those fields are merging into an entire, it would be like a planetary context, except it's actually a star if you saw it from the outside, because it has a coronosphere. This is where we have Earth's crust. Earth's crust would be here in that configuration in the Aquiferian shield gyrodome. So this is a picture of the gyrodome, right, in its fields, the gyrating spheres that form around it. We have Earth's crust is in here. So this would be Earth's crust. This would be the atmosphere going up to Earth's crust. This is how these gates interface with it. All right, so you have the 8 gates. They're really neat how the loops interface, too. I think there's something else that happens here where this shifts up. I was just getting little flashes of it, and it connects at the Azure points in them, and it forms ones that go sideways as well and link, and I don't know what they do, but it's something about when it's time to ascend or something. So there's a lot to learn. Next one, please, is the last one. That's just looking at it, in its own right. Is that frontward or backward, though? I have to look at the one with the number on it. Is there a number in a corner? Is there? Yeah. Oh, is there? Oh, yeah, there we go. There we go. So that's just letting you see it. There are temples. These little parts here that form from the shapes, these loop through the 12 Adashi temples in Earth's mantle, all right, that are connected, the ones that are connected into Earth's crystals that are actually in our lower mantles, or middle and Some of it's even in the upper mantle. They run through our mantles. And we did configurations of elemental command stands and chadras, actually using this at a certain point. We won't be using this one tonight. We'll be using the one that we showed you before that is shaped like, well, can I use that for a minute? Just put it there for a second. It won't bother you? This won't bother you if I take this?
No, I'm just counting.
Okay, I just wanted to show. So, our chadra is going to be this. And that's what you guys are going to be doing this evening, those who want to participate. All right? Last one. What's the matter?
The other one was right there.
I don't need the other one, thank you. Okay, so we're done with section 2.
Information before I show you one of 3 mylars, but anyway, it happened, and I'm still trying to recover from the experience. I don't know how Mrs. copes with it as well as she does. Anyway, I wish I could tell you what exactly it is we're activating in our personal Rasha bodies this evening, but at least we can say that we're going to be doing that. And also, we have the benefit of some technical information that helps us to understand the tachyon cycles and what is occurring on all levels, which is going to happen whether we do anything about it or not, except if we don't do anything about it, our personal choices, our collective choices are going to look a little bit sad because our ascension options won't be secured. And so what can be said in a paraphrase way for the moment, because neither Ash nor I can actually say more than this, but the activation and our relationship to it has huge benefit in terms of essential potentials for all forms of life, just about everywhere that is capable of ascending, or taking the step back path, which is still a far better option. So what I'm about to show you is really more a question of organization and essential information, so that at around about midnight this evening, when the beefy indigos do the genteel thing, and out of 70 plus guys pick up 3 chairs each and take them to either end of the room, the girls can applaud at the appropriate moment, but not before. But anyway, when the beefiest of our crew can pick up 3 chairs, we've got a choice of 74 males, I think, if all 74 are still fit, but we should get 70 out of it at least. So then we have 35 trotting this way and 35 trotting that way. No pirouetting because it's dangerous. 3 chairs neatly stacked against the wall, creating maximum amount of space in the center of the room, which you may have noticed that's the reason why I had these parts of the stage taken away, because our wonderful crystal heart configuration is really going to take up every inch of available space in the room. We have actually 27 feet from that wall to the front of the desk, and we have to get 2 offset ruches in the middle. And then the chamber flows. You saw briefly the diagram. So this part is not so much to present additional technical information, though you'll notice some in passing. Confirmation of descriptions or words are used appear on the mylars as far as we've been able to verify them, including their spelling. But this is to prepare you to, when the boys have done their thing, since the ladies are in the majority and you tend to be more inclined to be authoritative about these matters, that you therefore, and subsequently showing your gratitude, assist the poor blokes to get in the correct position, including yourself. And if it doesn't work out, you can always blame me because it's a favourite pastime anyway. You can tell I haven't done any sucking for a while. Mopped you all up then. So that really is as much of a preamble that I think I should give you, because there's plenty of other stuff that is worse than preamble to deal with one way and the other. So, here we go. I'm not really used to this, so if I get in the way of anybody, please excuse me. Can you just drop the light just a little bit? So, I want a bit of recognition. I want my chance to show too, huh? What does that mean? That's fine, thank you. I think it's probably something American boys dream about instead of going to the Adachi temples. You can take it, Laurie. Absolutely. Hey, they got paper next door. Sorry, that was a bit English. Anyway, here we are. The blobs were specially arranged to put off the moment when those who are involved in this offset configuration here have to look at it more closely. So I just thought the first chart will just fill this in so that you don't have to get worried too soon. All right, now, this is very simply restating the tachyon cycle axes, right? The activation we know is coming in at angles that I can't define and neither can Ash yet. But there are two inflows coming into this configuration from two directions at, let's say, approximately an angle like that and a more coarse angle like this, all right? And what we're going to do through this entire construct and the active energetic participation, which will involve using the elemental command tones, the ring and span tones, and the full Son of Aurora verses 1 and 2, which is what our output will be, okay? In this, when we're all set in the appropriate position, all right? So I just ticked in these things so that you could see that there is a relationship between the technicals that Ash was showing you. We've added a couple of things, or made a couple of things clearer, that the horizontal line is a chamber, and that is called the Hare Krista chamber. Okay, that's the dhala component, as distinct from t'other, which you don't want to know anything about. And here we have the kale-hara Navajo chamber. All right. Now, when I work with the beloveds in balancing these kinds of shadras, which they're becoming called, or stands, which is what they used to be called, but all of these kind of configurations are all shadras technically anyway. The tendency has always been that we work as randomly across the registration list as possible. However, there isn't any real danger associated with this, but I, with their help, have chosen people who can handle any risks that are associated with being in these positions. So I've owned that straight up front. As far as all the other locations, I mean personal locations, positioning, they have come just straightforwardly as the whole thing unfolded. But these two particular chambers, one runs the entire length of this. The other one is a short one, which would have been longer had it not been constrained by the architecture of the room. There would have been more people put into this position here. But these are really where a lot of the load is going to be taken, and naturally in the center position too, where all the flows come to a climax in the crystal capsule in this case, are those places where we do have some responsibility for the well-being and safety of people. Okay? Now, I can put this back again later, but this one happens to have certain notes on it, which I'll point out now, and we'll come back and we'll deliberate a little bit on it and say, well, what does it mean? We'll begin the stand, quote unquote, the activation anchoring, with the elemental commands first, and I will put a mylar up and also describe who is using them. Okay, because we've got some kind of multi-part harmony effects that are actually being requested of us. But so I'm skipping to the second on the list when we actually use the ring and span tones. Now, everybody, when you get to hear about it, I should probably orientate you first. the way this lays out is, and it's clear on the other one, is that there's a south orientation. So if the screen is here, this thing turns around completely, which confuses everybody, and means that this is the south end. Should mean this is the south end, and I'll check it when I get the other mylar going in a minute. And this is the north end of the room, so that would be the south end. Okay, and that would be the north end. Alrighty? And our north faces to south. Alright? People occupying this sector will work with the Yuma prefix, which relates to the core domain's Rashalay body. People who occupy these are 4 circles of ellipses of people. All right? These represent those who are actually handling the chamber flows. The people occupying this sector, which I'll be a lot more precise about in a second, they use the Shamu prefix out of the ringtones, which correspond to the outer domain's Rashalay body. The people who are occupying chamber positions, either the chambers on this axis or the chamber all the way along this axis, that means both groups of people, this way and that way, will use the Shamu, which corresponds to the outer Rashalay body. The outer Ruche people, which correspond to the large blue blobs, there is a small one inset and offset inside here. They will use the Kemu prefix. And the inner Ruche will use the Komu, which corresponds to the inner domain to the Rashala body. All right? So every section will be running a different component of the ringtones, span tones, which is something that we've never done before. And that should make a delightful noise. As I said, I will come back to this when I finish with the structural stuff in a second. So once we've assigned the locations, you can look at this and say, I'm here, or I'm whatever, so that once you know where you're going to be, you will store the essential piece of information, rather than just this being a general introduction for everyone. Because all I want you to get from this, apart from little bits and pieces of additional information, the one thing I want you to get from this is to know what your contribution to this huge event is going to be. And all that's being asked of you, if you're willing to participate, is to do your part as well as you can and help others around you in a kindly and gentle way. That's all. So at the end of this, I want to feel that you've all stored the essential information you need, and don't leave until you've asked me any questions you need to ask, so that you do get confident and comfortable. It's not really complicated. We've only got a handful of things to remember. Okay, Terry. I want to go there next. Thank you. Now then, I've learned a little bit about handling these things, which are forever changing over a period of time, and really from the standpoint only of making it as simple for people to take individual instruction and then bring it back into like a collective expression, so that because each person understands what's being asked of them, the entire collective is capable then of reconstructing this energetic framework, which is an immensely important one. So whilst it would have been easy for me to have dropped in all the numbers and fill it all in with black numbers here, so it all fills in, you look at it and you go, wow, where do I go? Where will I go? If I've just been assigned in a Ruche 6 point, how do I get to know in the room where... Can you just slide that slide to one side so I can see this? It doesn't matter which. Okay, that's fine. So that when you look at it this way, it really is awfully hard for you to clear chairs and then come back to an open space and say, right, where do I fit in here? Whatever position you've been assigned. So from this, what I've done is I've broken it down into how this will happen. So when the chairs have been taken out and all of the middle of the room is open, at that point, before we do anything else, I would like for people to come to the edges of the room, right, to get as far back in every direction as you can, leaving the middle of the room as open as possible for those people who then will move first. So what happens, first of all, if you look at a Ruche, it's very easy to look through it, ignore the colors, and see that here there is a line of 4 forming a corridor. Yep. And similarly, there's one here that's forming a corridor, so that when people know where the middle of the room is, it's really quite easy for people to line up in that fashion. So I've just simply taken that same principle and I put it up here. Part 1A, which is the inner ruche, okay? 12 points south from the midpoint in the room, standing approximately, everything, all the spacing is more or less 3 feet in the inner parts. So 12 would stand just off center. The center will be marked with a cross. If one of my pals can find me some masking tape, and we'll put a cross right there. So 3, 6, 12, and 9 come into the middle of the room straight away, and they line up the fundamental axis that reflects the cardinal points on the south, north, and the west-east basis. Right? As soon as those 4 people have done that, it becomes very easy then for 11 and 1 to come and form that line through there, and 2 and 4 to come and form their line. So then we actually create this. All right? Now, it's as simple as that to get the inner ruche set. Now, because they've got that set, and we're dealing with a complicated offset relationship, the simplest thing to do then is to say, okay, the outer ruche people, 3, 6, 9, and 12 again, if you look into this, you'll see that 12 does exist exactly between 7 and 5, 1, 7 and 5 is established. Similarly, 9 between 2 and 4, and so on. Now, the minute that we have those guys in position, we can go to C. Terry, if you can just slide that over. And because we've got 3, 6, 9, and 12 in position, then we can just use the lines, the corridors of 4, so that these people, 2 and 10, can come in line with 3 and 12 already established in the correct position because of the referencing of the inner ruche. And the same with 4 and 8 and 5 and 7. Okay? So we ought to get all of this stuff around which everything else works. All right? Set by just following those steps. Okay? Now, as I said, I will put these charts back up, and people can actually refresh once they know what the location is, because at the moment we're dealing generally. Can we just go to the next mylar? Yeah. Okay. Now, this one is assuming that we have just completed what I've described, and that is that we've got the 2 ruche rings offset to each other, set up in the middle of the room. Now, from that point, the chambers here and all the way through here will come into position next, so that these are literally relate to, you'll hear me say when I read out the assignments, East 1. Whoever is East 1 will be there. East 3 similarly will be here. Okay? Now, because we know that that's the south, that way, it must mean the east is the distance between the edge of the stage and the outer edge of the ruche. Okay? So these people are going to bolt themselves on to the rim of the ruche on either side. 3. And here we have 12 at 3 feet intervals, all the way from 3 feet off the edge of the ruche, bunny hopping, so that's 1, 2, 3, all the way through to 12. All right? So these people on these 2 axes will come in. Now, what they're going to do to help other people is that once we've got these 2 axes in position, these people with the solid dots without a circle around them will be asked to sit. And the people with a circle around them, if you notice, correspond to the apex of each of these ellipses. Which means that when the people who correspond to the flow chambers, that is numbered 4, 3, 2, and 1, will put in this arc, which will cut through person 12 in that point, and we'll get that one sorted out. And once we've got that one sorted out, we'll bring in the next arc, and they will intersect between here and the person standing here. So these people will operate as markers temporarily. Okay, 11 will be sitting, 9 will be sitting, 8 will be standing, 7 will be sitting, and 6 will be holding the 2 new crystal hearts. that we have here on the desk. So whoever's nominated as North 6 and South 6 will need to bring the crystals into position when they come in as well. So, structurally speaking, that's all there is to it. You say you want me to call a cab? Right. Now, I think that what will probably be better, because I want this to become individually meaningful, like I said before, and once we've done that, we can just run through these things again, and you can ask me questions about your individual positioning when you do or don't go into a particular place, whatever like that. And then when we've done that, and we've got everybody feeling settled about it, we'll spend just a little while going through each of the elemental command tones, who's doing what, from what position in the setup, because there are different people. I can't remember how. I was struggling to hear what I was being told to do, but there are particular combinations where certain elemental tones are being used in here, certain are being used in, I think, this pair here, they're all doing different stuff. Again, as well as the Yamu, Kamu, Shemu business as well. So I'm going to assign the roles now, all right? So just bear with me. It's going to be a bit boring because we've never done this for 207 or whatever it is people. Oh, and I should also say, for matters of practical convenience, we reach a point, you see these numbers here, there are 33 people comprise this chamber flow here, and 33 people comprise this one as well, which is 66 names that you'd have to sit while I read them out. What I've done is I've worked in the same way as the diagram. I've worked from the inside out. So I've reached a point where I've consumed the allocation in the way that they wanted the male-female alternation to run. And I came to a point where I have, by definition or default, 66 people on the list. And if I don't mention your name, it means you're one of the 66. It's not in any way being rude or kind of an act of some form of detriment. It's just practical. If your name hasn't come up in here, or in each of these rings, which will all be defined with a little prefix, then you know, by definition, you're in Arc 1. Okay? If you don't hear your name called, you will be in Arc 1 North or Arc 1 South. And that is something I haven't been able to get to grips with in more detail. Ash wanted me to do something, and I said, well, I can't do that because the room is full, and I need to isolate 66 people in a room of people sitting down already, as full as this is. I just can't do it. We'll have to deal with that tonight. So, I mean, the practical part is that tonight, the 33 who will have to say, if you find yourself as one of the unmentioned people, do you know, if I was a bigger fool, I'd have spent more time worrying about this particular point, because I have. I mean, I don't know what it is about whoever it is that's worrying about this, but it gives me a little bit of jip. I feel like I'm, not dealing exactly equally with everyone, and I really am a bit fussy about that. Anyway, if you're one of the 33, notice the harmonic. It's great to be a 33. Notice the harmonics running through the numbers anyway. 33, 24, 12, 6, 3 feet apart. Yesterday, we didn't know we were going to do this like this. And we didn't know. And when I started to get the structure and the numbers on it, I'm thinking, crikey, do we have enough people? And when I worked it out, we had, I think, 2 spare. Ash and me. So you'll find a role somewhere for us, won't you? I know you will. But it just blows me. It really does. I mean, when I totaled it all up, it came at 204. It's just nuts, isn't it? And I mean, we got 204 plus us. And I think maybe a couple of people who registered late. Certainly one person I know has not been well, maybe someone else. But in the event, it looks like we will finish up with exactly the number we need. So we need everybody, really. I mean, to be plus perfect, we can do it by dropping, a body here or there, as it were, to coin a phrase. Anyway, as it's taking a little lie down, hi, I'm Tupa. So yes. Anyway, that's about the 33. So I will now, as quickly as I can, do the assignments, and then we'll come back and we'll review everything I've shown you already so that you can relate to it, ask questions from an individual point of view. And then we'll review the 3 different types of energetic activity we're going to undertake as well when we get into this position. And of course, bring pillows, cushions, or whatever else, because there isn't going to be any lying down room, unfortunately. All right, the room, once we start to set things up, you'll realize the lucky bug, excuse me, sorry, the lucky 33, that's why it's a good number. People out here, if they want to lay back a little bit, probably will find the scope to do that. But anywhere through the center and then in here, no chance, you know. The overall diameter of this needs to be 15 feet. And there are going to be 24 people in here. I know. It's going to be okay. Be okay. It'll be okay. I just want to, yes, fine, right. Yeah. Such an important event. Right. Okay. Now, anybody who doesn't want to participate, if your name is called, please say you don't in public. That will stop you. Well, I'm only saying what people think. I can hear you all thinking. If, though, anyone is indisposed truly, and seriously now, would you please let me know? And I can immediately arrange the substitute for the position so that I can do it as we go along rather than try and remember it and have to go back and find it. All right. All right, then. Having got the chairs out of the way and the bodies out of the way, so the floor's nice and open, and we've got a sticky cross in the middle that says, here is the middle of the room as best as we can guess. What should then happen is that the people assigned, and this is Zandra, this is Mac, Curry, Zandra, and Justin, have got to come and stand around this piece of tape forming a square. Okay? And once those guys are comfortable, and the distance between these positions here is going to be literally 4 or 5 feet. Just enough body space for Ash and I to come in there. Now, once we've got these guys forming their square, then people who are in the inner ruche positions 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 11 will come and they will form these lines of 3. Okay? So these 2 people will come out and stand in a way where, using this person who's already present, they'll form a straight line, I hope. And so will they, and so will they. Okay? Now, once we've got the finagling finished with these 12 people, so that the core structure is good enough to support the building of the remainder, then what we do is we ask 3, 6, 9, and 12 from outer ruche to come and take their positions, which are literally standing in the space, making a perfect equilateral triangle, stands between 11 and 1, 9 between 2 and 4, and 12 between those, and 3 between those. And that then will give us the basis of building the remainder of the outer ruche, which simply means that because we've got the 3, 6, 9, and 12 of the outer ruche in position, we're looking to set up 4 lines of 4. All right? These guys are already standing in their outer positions, locked on with the inner ruche, so that's secured, we hope. And having got that far, then in this case 2 and 10, I've got a good reference of 2 people standing in a squared up way in relation to the inner. 2 and 10 come and bolt on about 3 feet apart from 12, 3 feet apart away from 3, and 1 and 5 come and do the same, about 3 feet apart from 6 and 3 feet apart from there. Right? Now, just by doing that in that way, and we just stand by and watch them fall over each other, but we'll pick them up and help them out a little bit. But once we get to that point, we really have got a strong foundation as a general axis to create everything else. So is anybody not sure of anything that has to do with those involved in inner and outer ruche setup? Anybody got any concerns? Everybody, yes? Yep. This position here is east, right? And that, I mean, these are set up to follow the room. That is north, and that is south. Okay? South is actually there, and north is actually there. So if you want to take what's drawn on the screen, you have to turn it over like that. If you slide this back a minute. Okay? Look. You see, the thing is, if you do it by numbers, rather than worrying about that, it'll work. Because you see, south, 12 has to face south. All right? Which means 6 is facing north. So the very first thing we do is we set the cardinal directions and their numbers right away by working off the core. All right? And then these numbers come and lock in on the back of what we're doing here. So although we're pointing north when it says south, when we come and put 12 on the ground, 12 is going to be facing south this way, and 6 will be facing north that way. So we'll get it right because we'll tell them which way to face, because we know that. We know that's south and that's north. It just that drawing it the other way around was a little bit difficult for me to do in a hurry. So it's factored into that. We know where they have to go, and from that point we can build everything else. All right? No? No? Let's go on to the next one. Oh, you frightened me for a minute. Yeah. Can you push it up a bit, Terry? Okay, that's fine. That's great. That's great. So then, a glorious assumption, aside from the fact that we will get everyone pointed in the right direction when we start to build this, which is a perfectly valid and reasonable concern, because if we didn't do that, we'd be really in a mess. We will say now, we have this in position. The next thing we're going to do is part 2A, is that we put in the row of 12 who are occupying the north or south numbered positions. So north 1, 2, 3 through 12, including the crystal holder, and the corresponding southerly facing. And again, this group, the southerly 1 through 12, are going from 1 to 12 that way, south, and the other guys are going that way, even though the drawing is pointing in the opposite direction. Having got those 12 spaced out, again, 3-foot intervals, please, guys. Those of you who are in the chamber positions. That should give us what we need in terms of the arc, the width of the room. The overall length shouldn't be a problem to us. It's just where we get this line, and that comes out to about 27 foot, which is the wall to here. So we don't have slack to be. We don't have slack to play with, is what I'm saying. Once we've got these 2 rows of 12 in, okay, it would be useful, and we get the 2 rows of 3 in the east and west positions. Again, east is here, and west is by the back wall. But this will be very easy for those people to get. And again, 3 feet intervals between you is what we need. At that point, the straightforward dots, they should sit, leaving the 4 standing temporarily, because they form the arc point for each of the rings of the flow chamber people coming into position. Is that all right? So the heralded but unmentioned 33s. I mean, what would you think? I mean, the minute I noted it to put this arc in first, because it gives a reference to the overall room size, I thought. But I mean, we could work this way out if people feel it's better, because the bodies are all going to be around the edges. If we put this one in first, then people are going to have to be getting through. Shall we start with the all right. Well, the inner. All right, we'll start with the inner 6 then. And this is the position. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So the arc 4 people, north and south, will be standing in this kind of position, and the arc will be effectively formed by the crystal and the crystal holder here. All right? So we'll do arc 4, north and south first, and then we'll go on to the 12 people who comprise arc 3, or flow chamber 3. And again, it's relatively simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people get themselves evenly spaced around to this person who's already standing up, giving you a marker, and another 6 people on this row. And when we come to arc 2, we now have 12 people either side, 12 people around that rim, 12 people around here to complete. And then finally we have the 33, which is an odd number that I can't split. But if we call it 33 plus that one, 34, then altogether there'll be 17 either side. And when you come to position yourselves, just pay attention to the relationships between bodies and try and even it out as much as you can. All right? And try and keep the arc effect, which, this is a facsimile of the crystal heart, and we need to be wanting to, structurally represent that facsimile of it as reasonably well as we can without getting completely crazy, but make an attempt at spacing and shape. All right, and as best as I can manage, I keep an eye from up here before we get going on how things are looking and probably run around a bit. But I prefer it very much, actually, if people could just pay a little bit of nominal attention to where they need to be in here. None of these people have been assigned actual positions. So, just get into the area you need to be in and, get organized within yourselves. The little group of 6 that are this people, get yourselves organized, as with the 12 and the 24. I'm sure you can cope with that easily enough. So, again, structurally, that is pretty much it. Do we anticipate any problems anywhere? No?
The 66, how do they know if they're north or south?
That was why I was talking about the difficulty of getting in among 66 people when the room is so full. We tripped over with the idea of reversing this process and building from here, here, and here, which technically leaves 66 people in the room with nowhere to go yet, but they know where they're going for sure and what they're going to do. Now, it's a simple kind of correspondence. At that point, we can just count people off. Say, okay, 33 people, count off, go south. And, 1, 2, 3 to 33, bang. And then the balance goes the other way. And we might count off just to make sure whether we've got some imbalance in the number. We may have to transfer 1 or 2 people to the side. Yes, Linda? Absolutely. Good idea. If you'd like to do that, guys, do it. Yes? No, just the 2, sweet. No, they can be with your personal belongings. No. It's not like that at all. No, but the beloved did specify just the 2. And of course, they not only do a job at the time, but they get charged and whole frequency that we use in other occasions for other reasons as well. And they were very specific about them being positioned in the 2 points they are as well. I otherwise hadn't thought of it. I just got no further than 1 in the middle, actually. Okay. Okay then. Now you know who you are and where you're going to be. Can you put that one up there, Terry, a minute? Now, command tones. I don't have copies. Oh my God, where did I write that? Oh yeah. All right. Now, I've simplified this. There will probably be inevitably something that opens the proceedings this evening. At the moment, I don't know what it is. However, there are 3 things that we would typically use in a situation like it, and they have been confirmed, which is this. The first thing we'll do whatever we're asked at the commencement, a number of rounds of the command tones. I don't feel that that's likely to be fewer than 48, which is that number that we all have difficulty counting to, especially me. But that'll be confirmed at the beginning. All right, now, the simplification is, for this event and this event only, because these command tones are used in very specific ways during 12 tribes. However, ring arc 1, people, north and south. You will use the date-nu command tone. This one. I haven't got any handouts for this. So people who are in arc 1, north and south, if you're anywhere else, ignore this. Only if you're in arc 1, north and south, you will, when the command tones are called, and forget about the male and female stuff, this is something else we were doing. So the baby arc in the middle is arc 1, and there are 6 people in each of them. Those people will actually do date-nu-ra-e. Only those 12 in the inner arcs, north and south. Yes? Yes, the little one in the middle. No, the outer one is number 4. You double check that for me? We're getting heckling. Cool. I stand gratefully corrected. Several times in less than 5 seconds. I'm so relieved that you're paying attention. Honestly, it touches it. Yes? I'll express that in direct Anglo-Saxon in private. Ends with your problem. Okay, anyway, thank you for that. So we have 66 people who are going to do the date-nu-ra-e. And that's what you do over and over again. When we do the command tones, you just do those, and we start slow, and we go real quick. Okay, arc 2, which is next to arc 1, if anybody's not sure, is A-B-D-T-A. Okay, arc 2, people, north and south. It doesn't make any difference which you're in. This is what you will use, so please make a note of it now. Ring 3, north and south, ida se umka. Okay? You got that? Ida se umka. Ring 3. And finally, the little one, the little ring of 12, is Isho Te Tumna. That just affects 12 people. The small ring nearest the middle. You got that? No? I'm sorry, I can't hear. What are you asking? 4. This is arc 4. Isn't it? This is the last small ring in the middle. It affects 12 people. And they will be doing the command tone Isho Te Tumna. Is that okay now? Isho Te Tumna. Yeah. And everyone else, which are the people that run the chambers from one end to the other, that's 24, 12 in the south side, 12 in the north side, and those 6 people, 3 occupying the eastern and 3 occupying the western, all of the inner Rushe and the outer Rushe people, all of those people, in other words, everybody bar the arc people, in other words, do the ethers command, which is Ita En Sha'e. Ita En Sha'e. You okay? Do you want that moved up a little bit? Can you move it up a little bit, Terry? And Terry, what we'll do next is we'll go to the chart that deals with the ringtones. And when they're just copying from that, just a second. But we'll go to the one that highlights which ringtones are used by which people in what parts of the Shadra. Pum? It was the first one we put up. Okay, you're done with command tones, everyone? Yep. Sorry? The inner one faces south. And the outer one faces northeast. So not north exactly. You see there are two 12s in the setup. Yeah, I'm right. The inner core ruche, 12 faces south. The outer ruche has been set in a particular position, the beloved's one, which actually means literally it will be facing northeast. It will be facing into the corner where Larry is, the outer one.
Part of the 33, is it a female rotation or male rotation?
Is it what? Oh, no. Didn't you hear me say, I said ignore the stuff at the top because it was for use that we'd had before. They don't relate. Pardon me?
Part of the 33, which one do you decide?
Which is arc 1. Okay. And, it's all, we're going to be certainly in the middle, so tight. There isn't any rotation, there isn't any rotation speed calling, anything like that. What we're doing now is what we need to do. So are we all done with the command tones now? Fine. Now, pardon? Well, let him ask his question. Her question, excuse me.
The A3, what tone is that?
Arc 3? Anybody help? 'Cause I've got to go back to my notes. Yeah, it is. It's Ida Se Ka. Ida Se Ka. Okay? You all right? Everyone fine now? All right, now then, after we've done, I suspect, 48 rounds of the command tones, we will then do, I would think, as many rounds of the ring and span tones. Now then, Kerry, do we have the copies for distribution yet? Everybody's got them? Okay. Have people shared? Do people generally know how they work? All right. Well, I'm not one for self-promotion, but if I had to choose, singing would not be one. We have, wait a minute, there's a question there, I'm just going to go somewhere. Since we don't have that degree of familiarity, right, I'm going to ask some of our singers to come and perform the ring and span tones in the way that we would do them. All right? And if we go in just a little huddle of how many singers we're going to use? Half a dozen, something like that? What we'll do is we'll actually let them do it in the way that we would each do it if we were using a dedicated prefix. All right? Because, you see, in the way we've used this before, if you look at your page, you have on the left-hand column, it says at the top ring tones, and then the column is split, and right across it says span tones, and underneath each of ring tones and span tones are a list of 5 words. Okay, they are the prefixes: yamu, kamu, kemu, shamu, and shemu. All right. Now, in normal and prior usage, what would happen is that a group that was running a 12 tribes activity would use one prefix and run through the harmonic all the way and then through the transharmonic all the way until they completed one full round. So you go yamu nadata yamu adama maja, yamu jafa inaka. You go all the way down the list to kathara. Still using yamu, you go up to the top right, Arya Ekrae Rathasaka, still using Yamu, all the way down to Yamu Mata Adama Nada. All right? At that point, you would then pick up with whatever next prefix you'd been instructed to use. So then you'd go to Komu, all right? Or Kamu, actually. You pronounce it more Kamu than Komu. All right? Use Kamu Nada Ta'ur, and then you go all the way down again, both columns, until you came back, and if you had another prefix to use, you use Kemu, and then do it over, right? What's happening tonight is that specific groups are being associated with a prefix. So all they will do is use the prefix and do what I've just done for you. So if you are a Yamu, then you use Yamu all the time and all of the rest of the harmonics. If you're a Shemu, you use Shemu all the time and the rest of the harmonics. All right? But, I mean, it will still be nice to finish this. If we can get a half a dozen of our singers, each one, or, you know, it doesn't matter really, but 5 or more, they'll each take a prefix and do a run-through. Okay? Is that all right? Am I getting any organizing for a singer or entering? Yeah, is that cool? I mean, just to spend less than 5 minutes, just doing a few rounds, and with the tempo building would be good. And that will close the session. So, before we do that then, okie dokie. Now then, what, when we come to the ringtones, is one going to be this evening? Okay. We'll start over here. Right. South-facing group. That way. Yuma. So everyone... Thank you. It's just effortless. You know, it's just... Anyway, mate, this is Saf, all right? This is pointing down south. And they're going to do Yamu. Right? Correct? The north pointing people, that way. All of the arcs, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, Yamu, will do Shamu. So everyone in the arcs at that end of the room will use Shamu as their prefix all the time. Nothing else. Shamu. There goes the Shamu. And then hang on, I understand why. Okay, the inner ruche, the 12 people in the inner one will use the Kamu. The people comprising the outer ruche will use the Kemu. And the chambers people will use Shemu. So the 3 here, 12 here, and 12 there, they will all use Shemu. Okay? So we all know what we got. Is that right? Very good. Very good. And you all have copies of both verses of the Song of Aurora. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, loved and beloved. Hello, Jim. Sorry? Well, in the sense of it, they are not a song per se, and they don't have a melody per se. But this is an area where you've heard me mention once or twice before, when being serious, that to play within the tone, once you become familiar with it, is to actually move with it and express with it. And you find inflection occurring, which is itself melodious. All right? And that's an okay thing to do. I mean, obviously we can't organize such a thing in a big group. But the comment or return really is more in private, that if you find a melody emerging anytime with any of this material, outside of a given melody, but even so, in private you can explore them, and if they start to want to move in certain directions for a while, That is not a bad thing. Mirko, come again?
Are you going to keep track of the 48, the count, 48?
If you want me to make you laugh some more today, yes.
You're going to assign somebody?
I'll count. Well, you do it. You're better than maths than I am anyway. In fact, I've often said to Ash, if you wanted to mess with it, I mean, you married Noel or Mirko or somebody more handsome. I can handle being nailed, and that was sharp. But I won't forget. I love you too. What? Well, if I do it, it only confuse you. No, we'll get somebody to do it. Somebody who's good, because I tend to try and... 48. Where were we then? Stephanie, what do you want? Oh, you're just doing Olga's. Yeah. If you put any more into it, we won't see you tonight, will we? All right then, so it's a sing-along or without as. Okay, singers. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, well, we'll see you with this tonight, and as they say in certain quarters, break a leg. I mean, just do a good job. Well, it'll be spliced into presentation time. We think around midnight. That's our most current. So that's what we think. That may move back, if in any direction, by 30 minutes or an hour. I don't know, but we're aiming for around midnight. No. You have dinner break booked, and we'll reconvene. It's about now, is it, Mac? Okay. We'll reconvene after that. So we'll allow 2 hours for dinner. It's 7 o'clock now. So you start at 7:30. Okay, let's nail 9:30 as start time. Get some, hopefully, more graph work shown, and then. All right. Well, it's your dinner time is due in a little while, so just give it 3 or 4 rounds and then quit so people can wash up before dinner and stuff. All right. So you're going to take a prefix each. So distribute the prefixes evenly across the group of singers. Yeah. 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 So just take just mix the prefixes up a little bit. And then just work with that, all right?
All right.
Thank you.
In the morning. Ordinations at 8:45, and sorry, Mac, I didn't hear the second thing. Please, consummates join to help out. So 8:45 tonight. And regents to hold space. Thank you. So, yes, do we know? Should we maybe speak it once through so everyone can hear how the syllables are pronounced? Okay. 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 Do you want to do all through Yamu, all through Kamu, all through Kemu, and then after we get through all of them, then we'll mix them up? Does that sound good? Okay. Speak. Yeah. Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. Yamu nada ta'ur. Yamu adama maja. Yamu jafa inaka. Yamu taura. Yamu idasha. Yamu jadala. Yamu kathara. Yamu Ariya Ekra E Ratha Thaka. Yamu Kala Tajada. Yamu Lasha Jada Ida. Yamu Shara Ida Tao. Yamu Raka Tao Jaffa. Yamu Kama Jaffa Adama. Yamu Mata Adama Nada. Kamu Nada Ta'ur. Kamu Adama Maja. Kamu Jaffa Inaka. Kamu Daura. Kamu Idasha. Kamu Jadala. Kamu Kathara. Kamu Ariya Ekra E Ratha Thaka. Kamu Kala Tajada. Kamu Lasha Jada Ida. Kamu Shara Ida Tao. Kamu Raka Tao Jaffa. Kamu Kama Jaffa Adama. Kamu Mata Adama Nada. Kemu Nada Ta'ur. Kemu Adama Maja. Kemu Jaffa Inaka. Kemu Taura. Kemu Idasha. Kemu Jadala. Kemu Kathara. Kemu Ariya Ekra E Ratha Thaka. Kemu Kala Tajada. Kemu Lasha Jada Ida. Kemu Shara Ida Tao. Kemu Raka Tao Jaffa. Kemu Kama Jaffa Adama. Kemu Mata Adama Nada. Shamu Nada Ta'ur. Shamu Adama Maja. Shamu Jaffa Inaka. Shamu Taura. Shamu Idasha. Shamu Jadala. Shamu Kathara. Shamu Ariya Ekra E Ratha Thaka. Shamu Kala Tajada. Shamu Lasha Jada Ida. Shamu Shara Ida Tao. Shamu Tao Jaffa. Shamu Kama Jaffa Adama. Shamu Mata Adama Nada. Shemu Nada Ta'ur. Shemu Adama Maja. Shemu Jaffa Inaka. Shemu Taura. Shemu Idasha. Shemu Jadala. Shemu Kathara. Shemu Ariya Ekra E Ratha Thaka. Shemu Kala Tajada. Shemu Lasha Jada Ida. Shemu Shara Ida Tao. Shemu Raka Tao Jaffa. Shemu Kama Jaffa Adama. Shemu Mata Adama Nada. And just so it's clear that it's Tao, it's like a TD mixture. Tao. Right. Yeah? Well, you do the one that's assigned to you. Do you know which? Do you know what group you're in? Okay. I was thinking maybe we could do a round with each person doing their own particular prefix. You want to try that? Just one time through? Okay. Yes? Any question? No? Oh, we have to go to dinner. Try and get... Okay. Yeah. Yes.
One thing that I completely slipped my mind, but Linda Nasden reminded me, or asked me a question and reminded me, and that is this. As far as Ruche positions are concerned, that your position number takes care of who you're next to, male, female, whatever, okay? The positioning of the chambers people does too, but in the arcs it doesn't. I didn't mention that in arcs 2, 3, and 4, the positioning alternates male-female all the way through it. Arc 1, which is the outer arc, if I remember the numbering and the correction earlier, is entirely female, bar possibly one male. Okay, so arcs 2, 3, and 4, when you go to position, you need to alternate male-female. Okay? The outer arc will be female almost entirely. Thanks.
Have a good dinner.
Okay.